Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special Tuesday webinar. We are in Las Vegas, Nevada for Prosper Show 2021. I'm here with my colleague, Cameron Yoder. It's his first webinar with Teikametrics.
Very first webinar with Teikametrics with Liz. It's great to be here.
I am Liz Downing with Teikametrics, and we are delighted to welcome Patricio Tellez, who is the co-founder of Algomas. He is an educator, first an Amazon seller, very experienced. He's an entrepreneur and he nurtures other entrepreneurs. He's a mentor and he's an e-commerce expert. And we've asked him here today to talk about the hidden possibilities, or maybe not so hidden possibilities, on Amazon Mexico. So Patricio, say hi.
Fully after the webinar, yeah. Hey, Liz, Cameron, hey everybody. My first webinar with Teikametrics as well. So.
It is. It's funny, I was like, do we want to skip it because it's Prosper Week, or we could just do it in person? So here we are in person at the Wynn, if you wondered where we were, and that's what's in the background. We've got Treasure Island and the Mirage. I can see the Beatles right outside my window, so it's not unlike every other webinar where the Beatles are right behind me. It's just in a completely different town. So Patricio, we talk to a lot of brands and sellers that are looking to expand internationally. That seems to be like a really hot ticket right now as people are deciding whether or not to exit, as people are deciding what to do with their businesses moving forward, how to increase their growth the most. They're looking at international marketplaces, but I don't know that they're always looking at Mexico first.
For sure. Yeah, and regardless if you want to exit your business or simply grow, the fact is that as the marketplace here in the U.S. becomes more, gets more competition, like sellers need to be and want to be looking outside of the U.S. to international markets, right? So most sellers will think about Canada first, of course, like the seems like the easiest international marketplace right there. They speak English, but then I see a lot of sellers that we talk to very often as well, that try to expand to other marketplaces like Europe or even like Australia or even India. And the thing that we see, like the common thing between all of them, is that most of them don't think about Mexico when thinking about internationally. I don't know if it's probably because Mexico it's a fairly new marketplace. It's still small, it's growing really fast, but most people won't know that just reading and just on blogs or just on the internet. You won't see a lot of information about Mexico, and that's exactly what I think is the biggest opportunity now in Mexico. It's a really fast-growing marketplace without a lot of competition. So it's like it's a rare situation on an Amazon marketplace where you can really get into that marketplace and just not have a lot of competition and launch your products and get reviews and get traction without without having to go through the same even efforts or investment that as you would here or even in the European market.
So Patricio, I'm curious. So the goal of this webinar really is to paint a picture of internationalization, focusing on Mexico.
Yeah.
And also, I will say, in addition to this, if you have any questions about what we're talking about Mexico, put them in the chat. We'll get to them hopefully at the end of this. But for context, I think it's important to talk through just briefly how long you've been in Amazon Mexico, right? Like how long you've been in, when you started, for that, just briefly.
Yeah. So I mean, I am from Mexico, even though I've been living here in the U.S. for almost 10 years. But I'm from Mexico. My family lives in Mexico, and they all do Amazon as well. So I have a company in Mexico. I've been selling in Mexico since, I'm gonna say, I don't know exactly when it started, but I've been like right from the beginning.
I think it was like 2015.
So, yeah,
it's 14 or 15.
It's been like 6 years more or less. But as with anything else, like when it started, it really took a while for Amazon to get traction, to get any decent volume. And I think it wasn't until December 19th when they launched PPC. So when they launched sponsored products, that's really when it really took off, because there wasn't any way really to get a lot of eyeballs to your product without doing marketing.
Sure.
So I've been selling even since it started, and I've seen it grow, and I've seen it change from very very say like deficient catalog, like not a lot of products. We've worked with Amazon Mexico with the category managers to bring products to the marketplace. Since in those early years, they were looking for anybody to bring products and trying to bring brands. And the problem in Mexico is that nobody, even today, like Amazon is not as well known as Mercado Libre, for example. There's other outlets, and this was before COVID. So the problem that Amazon had was that companies, not only the big companies, but like small and medium companies, weren't really very excited about getting into Amazon Mexico, just because most of their catalogs, for example, were in digital. They didn't have a digital catalog. They might have had different products and different types of products and different prices across regions in Mexico, in the country. So it was hard for them to put an offer on their marketplace. So anyway, back to your question. Yeah, we've seen it grow, and that's why I know the opportunity that there is right now, because even though it's grown a lot, there's a lot of demand. Mm-hmm. The offer is still lacking in a way. And you can, like, if you're in your computer, you can go now or when the webinar is over, just try and search for any like bestseller in the US, and you'll all know, like, you can come up with 10 really good selling products with a lot of competition here in the US. If you go and look and search it up in Amazon Mexico, you'll see a few results, but most results you'll see are international listings, and that means that someone selling here in the US has an international listing and selling cross-border, right? But it's not a local FBA. So the opportunity right now is that the demand is there. COVID really exploded, just like anywhere else, exploded demand in Amazon Mexico, but there aren't enough products, there aren't enough listings locally. And so if you have a brand today that is selling, if you have products, then like that's a really low-hanging fruit that you can take advantage of that nobody's looking at.
I think one reason that people are hesitant to create listings on international marketplaces in general is that they don't have an idea of the buying behavior in that particular area. I know that I've talked with Yana with YLT a lot about localization and knowing what is actually going to sell, and in that way you have to know buyer behavior. What are some main similarities and differences between the buying behavior on .mx and .com?
So that's an interesting point, because you would really have to know the idiosyncrasy, like the local behavior, to really understand this. But having lived in Mexico, and if there's anybody that has lived in Mexico that is from Mexico, like our culture, like we're next to the US, right? Mexico is like the US, the #1 trading partner for everything in Mexico. It's where we get our culture from, like from movies, from brands, from everything, right? So consumption habits and consumer habits in Mexico are really follow very closely what's happening here in the US. Maybe there might be a lag before. I mean, maybe 10 years ago it was a 5-year lag, and now with internet and all that might be anywhere around 2 years lag for like the trends and the big things that happen here go to Mexico. And that's to say that mostly anything that works here in the US will work in Mexico. Like we see the same ads, we see the same movies, we see the same products, we see the same websites, right? So for me as Mexican, I know when I see something that works here in the US, like I know I can take it to Mexico, and with a few tweaks and with translation and with the right customization for that market, I know it will work. So the first thing is to know that cultural side of it, like and the consumer is really very similar in Mexico and to the US. But then on the other hand, and I know that's probably what you were getting at. So how do you know that if you're here in the US looking at Amazon Mexico? Because most of the tools don't work in the Mexican marketplace, right? So I know. Yeah, and for the estimators and all that, there's a whole set of tools that, yeah, Techimetrics that do. But if you're doing an initial analysis, right, you want to do your product research and estimate volumes and all of that. Most of the tools like Helium 10, the Jungle Scouts don't work. Helium 10 started very recently, maybe a couple months ago, started showing data, and I've noticed for some of the products are accurate, or in the, like close to the number that would be in the sales volume, but for some are really off. So I think they are in the early days of estimating sales. But so really, if you want to sell in Mexico, you have to go back to your like manual analysis, and by that I mean like count reviews, keep track of the inventories, like those very basic things that we still do here, but we also use software, right? So
obviously early days in terms of data accessible in Amazon Mexico, right? In terms of tools like Jungle Scout, Helium 10. But people, I'm curious if you could touch on the difference, your perspective on people launching new products, brand new products and brands in Mexico versus pre-existing products and brands, carrying those over to Amazon Mexico.
So both of those are great opportunities, and we do both. For example, like there's a huge market for both. So when I talk to a lot of people, right, the debate between like wholesale and private label, what do they do? Do we invest there? Like just do both. There's a huge market for American products in the US that already exist here, whether they're well-known, like well-known brands, or not so much, but have already a track record on Amazon. Because when you launch on Amazon, those reviews will carry over. So if you have an existing brand, then of course just take your products over there. And then
for now, they'll carry over.
For now, they'll carry
Amazon like goes back and forth on that.
Exactly. Yeah, with Amazon, we need to be revisiting every month these things. But for now you do. So that's, if you have product, it's a great opportunity. And then thinking about launching products, that's another great opportunity, because and one thing I see with a lot of the brands we talk about is most sellers, like if you've been doing this for a while, you might have products that did very well at some point and got a lot of competition, or the price went down big time, so you're not selling it anymore, you're not competitive anymore. But you have those great products, and you might have the supplier, the inventory, the videos, the images, and everything. So what we're doing with a lot of brands is we're taking those products and launching them, relaunching them in the Mexican marketplace, where there isn't that much competition, where they can still get a lot of value from those products that they knew were really good, but aren't making money with them in the US. So I think that's a big opportunity. And then launching any new brand, really, there's great competition in Mexico, or great sellers, just like anywhere else, big sellers too. But there aren't many really big sellers doing the very sophisticated things that big sellers are doing here. What I'm seeing in Mexico is mostly Chinese sellers, and they are great at competing in what they do very well, and nobody's gonna.
Chinese sellers are in Mexico, Amazon Mexico.
Of course.
Chinese. I mean, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. But are they really starting? Is that really starting?
Yeah, and that's because probably Amazon couldn't get a lot of traction from big sellers from here and big brands from the US. So and Amazon did a huge campaign, and still does a huge campaign in China to bring Chinese sellers, right? And that's why we have so much Chinese sellers here. But in Mexico, they found just a blue ocean, really, like not a lot of competition. So they got in, and there's a lot of Chinese sellers. But I think that's a good thing, really. at least for us, because when we're talking about launching brands, right, you need to be thinking about differentiated product, right? How are you going to add value, differentiate in quality, differentiate with better features or add-ons or something, right? So that's something I think that will stand out from the Chinese sellers anyway. So
that actually is a wonderful transition into something that you're working on that's sort of a secret project, but maybe not such a secret project, in that you're working with manufacturers in Mexico to create a better sourcing option with manufacturers that sort of understand that differentiation is necessary, and they understand IP, and they understand that if you're creating a private label product for an e-commerce seller, it has to follow the rules. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or is it a little too soon to talk about that?
No, and yeah, and so we're working on a project to bring the Mexican manufacturers in contact with private label sellers and with US based sellers, really, because, and that's exactly why, because we're seeing a lot of Chinese sellers, everybody's selling the same, and we're seeing also like a lot of most private label sellers are sourcing from like same handful of suppliers, same region in China. So you might have a different color and a different like small feature that does something different, but there aren't really. I don't think people are looking at other regions to get completely different products and really separate themselves from all the rest. And I think for that, Mexico is the best opportunity you have if you're a US seller, because for starters, you have like Mexico is, if you live in San Diego, like you're 10 minutes away from Tijuana, right? From the border. So, and wherever you live in the US, you are 2 hours, the 2-hour flight to from Atlanta to Mexico City. And once you get to Mexico City, you're a 2-hour drive from all the main in Mexico. So that means that there are a lot of potential manufacturers for almost any product, and you could have like a much easier relationship with your manufacturer, because most companies in Mexico have somebody that speaks English. We're in the more or less the same time zone, very similar cultures. And so we're working on a project that we haven't announced yet, that we will launch hopefully very soon. Yeah, and we're excited about that. I'm happy that
I think it's tremendous. I mean, when you think about lead time, we think about the fact that these manufacturers are going to be educated about how Amazon works.
And especially now with like what's going on, like if you're bringing any like shipment from China, it's been a couple of months like that, but like super expensive. It's like right now the delays are like the usual, and so yeah, lead times, your cost of shipping, and in many cases what we're seeing is you might not be able to source some products as cheaply as China, because I mean, nowhere in the world,
of course, literally nowhere else, yeah.
But if you take into consideration all these factors and the fact that it's so easy to go inspect, get samples, deal with your manufacturers, it's like if you take that into account, it can really be a lot more profitable in the end, a lot more profitable to source from Mexico than it is from China, because in the end, like if you're going to have better lead times, if you're going to have better control of your supply chain from start to finish, to product delivered,
better communication,
to just like with payments, like so much easier. Like our financial system is completely integrated, so it's very easy to make payments and receive payments, reimbursements. Our legal system works very similarly as well. So like you can have contracts drawn in Spanish, notarized in the embassy, and just like those kind of things, like IP, for example, just like our trademark and patent system are somewhat linked, can work between each other. Try to go and enforce anything in China, it's impossible, right? So unless you're probably a huge multinational company, but for all those reasons, I think, and you know what? I think if sellers today had the opportunity to source products in Mexico, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? They would. But the problem is that how do you do that? Like, where do you go? And there's no Alibaba for Mexico. There's no really easy way unless you speak Spanish or know a Mexican that can take you there. Like, and even if you're Mexican, like for me, just dealing with customs and all those, like all that red tape, it's not easy. So the problem has been so far, like, okay, how do you source and how can you be confident enough to really think about just changing your supplier, like from China to a Mexican? So that's what we're trying to solve with this project.
I'm curious, you really, I think you've addressed this, but I kind of want to consolidate some pieces that you pointed out. Obviously, Mexico's a huge opportunity. Chinese sellers honestly are an indicator to me that Mexico's a huge opportunity, because that's, to me, that's a big indicator of growth. But I think the idea of internationalization is not new, but perhaps the concept of Mexico is for a lot of sellers. When sellers today are considering expanding internationally, what about Amazon Mexico specifically what about Amazon Mexico separates it from going somewhere else, like the UK or Japan first?
The upside. So huge upside with not that much work. And let me tell you what I mean. So Mexico, and you've heard me say this a couple times, but Mexico, this is pre-COVID. COVID just messed up everything in the world and all the numbers. But Mexico is the fastest e-commerce market within the fastest growing e-commerce region in the world. So Latin America is the fastest growing region, mainly because it has so much of the population that hasn't been that don't have access to the internet and don't have access to the financial market, to banking and all that. But that's changing fast. So first reason is a huge upside. If you're early mover and get into the marketplace and can launch a brand and build a business and start growing there, like there's only a lot of upside to be had there. So it's just going to keep growing. And then added to that, I would say, like we were saying, there aren't many sellers. I mean, it's huge. Like it's Amazon. There are sellers, right? And there are Chinese sellers. But there's nobody really doing the hard work, really, like the optimization, the marketing campaigns. Like you even see it with the translations, right? So there are international sellers, and there might be a lot of there might be some people watching this that are selling in Mexico. But if you go as Mexican, if you go and read these listings, like it's like when you see a Chinese listing, like you can tell it's in English, but you can tell it's like a Chinese listing, right? Like for us, the same. Like for us, it's exactly the same. So those types of things.
Don't use Google Translate.
Don't use
whatever
Google
you
Translate.
do.
Yeah, and there are many services that I've seen that do Spanish translation. There might be a Spanish translation from Spain. Well, it's still not the same, right? It's not the same Spanish. It's different Spanish. It changes slightly. So those are the tiny things, and then the more complex things with Amazon marketing, or even off Amazon, right? So there's a lot of things that go into building a brand and capturing a market share that needs to be done, that nobody's doing. And one other important factor is that in Mexico, Amazon's not the only player, right? There are other big players. There's a bigger marketplace than Amazon, that is Mercado Libre. And there are other, it's more, they're like pulverized in 3-4 different marketplaces that are really meaningful in Mexico. So you want to be on there as well. If we're talking about building a brand that can scale that can add value. And then if you want to exit or you want to just grow, you want to have like a complete strategy in Mexico. But I would say the main thing is if you want to get sales, in most cases get better ROI than you're getting now here in the US, and do it without losing any sleep or any focus in your business, because it's not really that. It's like Amazon was probably, I don't know, 6 years ago. It's like 7 years ago, where you could launch pretty much anything,
Sure.
with good keywords, good picture, and like you're good to go. You didn't even need PPC, right? It's like that's right now Mexico.
What about so my thought is, okay, Mexico is not a hard sell because of the good opportunity that's there. But I see potentially, thinking from the mindset of a seller, a big roadblock that might prevent people from like taking that big step is this, the roadblock that they see of actually getting into Mexico. So I'm wondering if you can shed some light. Is it difficult to get products into Mexico? Is it not that difficult? What does the process look like?
Well, and while you're tackling that, also kind of maybe address doing business in Mexico.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like a whole thing, like you've got to be able to do business in Mexico. So what does that take? Getting on Amazon Mexico, how hard is that? And then once you're all up and running, how do you actually get your products there?
Yeah, and let me just specify that what I'm talking about is selling locally FBA in Mexico, because probably lots of people already sell internationally, right? They create international listings and Amazon does it automatically. They even translate, and you're selling in Mexico, and you might even be getting like a decent sales from that, right? But that's what I was referring to, that if you go to Amazon and look for any product, like you'll see international listings. And the problem with that is, you're already selling in Mexico, but the problem is that you're not selling, it's taking anywhere from a week to a couple of weeks to get there. And then the buyer of your product is paying for the import fees and shipping. So it's in many cases, they're paying more in import fees than than the product costs, right? So
you're talking about getting products into Mexico.
So what I'm talking about is getting products, like importing the product in Mexico and selling FBA in Mexico. That will make a huge difference, and that's what really will make you grow your business in Mexico. That's what we're talking about. So so talking about doing business in Mexico, I know a lot of people, because I talk to a lot of brands, that like they know Mexico is a big market, they want to be there, like they know they should probably be there, but they have like other things to think about first, right? They might think about moving, going to Canada or dealing with something else. Like Mexico is it's on their list, but for some reason or the other, they're not doing it yet. And the main thing is, well, it's not so we most people don't know how to navigate through the customs and getting products, because actually for most products, Mexico has more regulation than the US to import products. So it's harder you need like certificates for everything from textiles. For example, textiles is something that is hard to import to Mexico. You need like special to meet special requirements, and you need to be registered with the government. So if you want to have a local FBA offer, you need to be incorporated in Mexico with a Mexican entity. You need to have a tax ID, like your tax ID. It's called an RFC in Mexico, and you need to have an entity. And in order to have an entity in Mexico, there has to be every company in Mexico by law needs to have at least 2 partners. So you need to have like somebody else that you're incorporating with. So that's where it probably starts to get a little bit complicated for people. And when I say complicated, I mean that it's more complicated than the US. Yes, for sure. Like
But
here.
still relatively not that
But
difficult.
I mean, it can take, incorporating a company can take from a month to 4 months, for example, to get a bank account opened and to get your tax ID. So it definitely takes longer than in the US. It also costs more. It costs around 3,000 to 4,000 to incorporate a company.
Wow.
Yeah. I see a lot of people complaining about all this here in the US, but it's like,
I mean, but
you know,
to you, relative to the opportunity, the cost
No,
is
absolutely.
very much worth it.
absolutely.
Well, and the costs relative to other marketplaces.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna expand.
And again, there's I mean, it's not doing business in the US. It's more complicated, it takes longer, but it's definitely worth it. And that's one of the areas that we can help. Because acknowledging that it's not easy for any company to just open shop in Mexico and start selling. What we do basically is we help them to bring their products to Mexico and sell through one of our companies there. And so we buy FOB here, we pay upfront, and we take care of the operation in the Amazon marketplace, and we do all the import logistics, get the product to FBA, translations, customer service, a big part. And in Mexico, you probably receive, it's probably a rate to 10 to 1, like questions, messages, products, Amazon.
Really?
People,
So a lot of questions.
People like to ask before they buy.
Interesting.
And after they buy, they'll keep asking. So that's a big obstacle for many sellers, US-based sellers, that's preventing them from selling in Mexico. And I mean, we can help, but there are other companies that might help you as well. If you want to incorporate a company in Mexico, it will take a little longer, but you can certainly do it. There's a lot of law firms that can help you with that. I mean, it's certainly easier than going to India, or even at many European marketplaces. Especially now, Europe has tightened regulations on many products as well. So it's gotten. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's much more complicated than other marketplaces, and definitely the potential is there that if you are patient and you move fast, you'll be in a great position to capture all that growth that is coming to the Mexican marketplace.
Well, and if you're based in the US and you're already selling on .com, it's just really a no-brainer. I mean, there are other marketplaces that are pretty easy to get on right now, but then you're looking at shipping across a whole ocean. This is so close. You know, so once you get the processes down, or you work with a company like yours and you've just got your products going into that marketplace, then it's all a question of making sure your listings are translated properly, making sure you're appealing to local audiences, and making sure but you don't even have to run that much advertising, right?
I mean, you don't need to, but like if you know how to, or you have the right tools, then you can really scale really fast. Because again, like you're competing against most people, and you can, and again, you can go and look this up yourself. But if you in many keywords, like what you would think is like highly competitive keywords, like you might not see PPC sponsored product, for example. And that's crazy. Like the big things that your pay-per-click would be highly expensive here in the US. Like there might not even be competition for those in Mexico. So if you have the right product, if you know how to optimize, have the right pictures, and you know how to run your ads and have the right tools, I mean, you can not only you can kill it in Mexico, but you'll see results and be highly profitable really fast.
Good.
So I did tap into the questions a little bit, and there's a question about category. So someone is selling on Amazon Mexico and wants to increase sales. Right now, they are selling a healthcare product and they're selling headphones and earphones. So are there certain categories that are already more competitive, a lot harder to be successful in, or could there be something else that is slowing their sales?
There are definitely categories that are more that has more competition than others, but I wouldn't say right now there isn't any, like even electronics or beauty, or for example in Amazon Mexico you can sell liquor, like alcohol. Yeah, like it's probably
What are you guys doing?
it's probably the biggest category on Amazon Mexico.
Wow.
Really?
It's still the biggest category. Yeah. So that's one that you can't do here. But for the rest, there's competition, of course, and depending on what type of product you are. Like if you're in like electronics, cheap electronics that you're bringing from Alibaba and trying to compete with the Chinese, like you're gonna face the same problems that everybody has faced here for years, right? There are certain products that you are not going to be able to go face to face with the competition that exists right now because there are mostly big Chinese manufacturers selling in Mexico, but you can still do business with those products, just differentiate those products, find an innovation, bundle. There's many ways to get around them, and to me, those sellers are actually beneficial because they are driving growth on the platform with these cheap products that are selling on Amazon. A lot of people are coming to the marketplace. The marketplace is growing very fast, so they are bringing the buyers. Now your job is to find a great product, offer value, and you're gonna be successful. It's just what I would say in those categories is Mexico has grown a lot, so it's at a point where you need to choose your. You can't just throw any product out there and hope it will sell, right? Maybe it was like that before. It was many years ago like that here, but the competition has gotten better. Chinese sellers have woken up to the opportunity, and so the only thing I would add is just don't try to compete with that competition where you don't have any advantage. They have all the advantage. So find your edge.
It does sound like there are some similarities between what's happening right now in Mexico to Amazon US like 5 or 6 years ago, right? Yeah. But like you were just saying, you still have to be strategic about the things that you sell and the direction that you go in. I don't know if we'll ever see Amazon 8 years ago in the US across the world. Yeah. Trying to sell change.
No, because everybody is
it's different now.
Has caught up to the opportunity, and you know it's a. But you know what? Even if you could, I think that would be the wrong strategy. Like, because you will end up with 400 ASINs of products that might have sold for a couple of months, and then they didn't. Like, you're not building a sustainable business if you're only trying to sell whatever you get your hands on, or the cheapest thing, or the easiest thing to sell.
Yeah, you don't want it to be an overstock situation. Exactly. Where it's stuff you scanned on an end cap at Rite Aid and it didn't make it an FBA.com, so you send it to an FBA somewhere else. That's not the kind of ecosystem that we are looking for in e-commerce.
Exactly.
Ben asks, what about NARF?
Well, yeah, and like I said, there's probably a lot of people already selling in Mexico, right? So they might be asking, well, I'm already selling in Mexico and I'm getting decent sales. But again, just like it is here, if you were selling FBA locally with faster shipping times, with a more competitive price, because remember, if you're selling FBA locally, your buyer won't be paying the import rates, won't be paying shipping from the US. So you'll have you'll be selling a lot more because you have the better offer. Really, that's it. And I think the opportunity now is to move fast to capture the biggest piece of that marketplace as you can. And the way to do it is locally.
So NARF stands for North American Remote Fulfillment. So in that situation, you're not actually fulfilling into Mexico and Canada from Mexico and Canada. You're fulfilling from the US.
Your FBA, yeah. And and everyone probably has seen like that option. It's like sell, like a click of a button. Like you click sell internationally, and you can choose which listings can replicate, and Amazon will also just translate automatically. And like in a second, you have a listing in Mexico, and you're selling, and your offer is live, right? But that's not, I mean,
It's not the same thing.
yeah, it's not.
And I
That's
think
not what we're
I
talking
know
about.
at least a few sellers that I've talked to recently that thought that it was the same thing.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
but because, I mean, Amazon's explanation pages tell you everything you need to know, but they don't tell you.
Yeah, it's because you're not buying in Amazon Mexico. So just look up your products in Amazon Mexico, and you'll see a tag, like a silver tag that says importación, which is import. And just look at the delivery times, and just search for any zip code in Mexico and put the zip. No, it's like it's weeks.
I mean, that's very similar to buying a product in the US without the Prime badge. Honestly, that's
even worse.
It is
Because it takes longer and costs more.
right. That same concept of maybe seeing the Prime badge in the US encourages people to buy products
Absolutely.
much more, right?
It's the same text, yeah.
In Mexico, yeah.
It's the same. And I've asked people at Amazon Mexico, like how, they don't say how, like what percentage of their buyers are primers, and they say like most of the sales are driven by Prime. I believe that because that's the same case as it is here in the US. I don't know how much of it, but certainly growing like every day. So the sooner you can be local, FBA locally, the faster your sales will grow, and the faster you'll be able to grow your brand.
I'm sure that option to click of the button on Amazon importing is a good stepping stone into proving the concept of selling in Mexico.
Yeah. But you know what? I see that a lot. A lot of brands will come to us and say like, well, we've been selling in Amazon for a year, and we haven't gotten any sales, or they might have made some sales on a couple of ASINs, but the rest aren't working. And just after analyzing their catalog, like we realized like their best products are not the ones that they're selling, but are these other that haven't gotten any sales. But why haven't they gotten any sales is because they're selling, they're not competitive in price. They have other like local competition that might not look as good, might not have that many reviews, but gets there faster, and it's a lot cheaper because they don't come from the US, right? So it's gonna depend on what you're selling. There are other competition in Mexico, like it's not direct competition, but what I'm saying is, even though there's already competition in Mexico, if you have a good product and you're doing things well here in the US, if you do that same things in Mexico, like you'll beat that competition. You'll start making sales. Even if there were a lot of other good competition, you would still make a lot of sales because the market is growing fast, and there aren't enough products for the demand that exists after COVID in Mexico.
Okay, what about the future? Let's say next 2 years. What's going to happen in Amazon Mexico over the next 2 years?
So I see on both sides, on selling and sourcing. And I'm going to start with sourcing because that's I think the most interesting. That's the most underrated or not talked about, I think, opportunity in Mexico. And of course it started with all this trading craziness and with COVID and just the logistics and just people are trying to find options, because I mean if you're not and you're still waiting, hoping that this will be resolved and shipping prices will go down fivefold again, I don't know when that's going to happen. So to me, in the next 2 years, I think, I don't know if most, but a good portion of Amazon sellers will be sourcing from Mexico for sure.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's huge.
for sure. Because I mean, it just doesn't make sense not to really. because you can source better products, cheaper in many cases. You can have differentiated products. It's so much easier, and I think that what you will see is you will see a lot of brands launching new products. And I'm not talking about the same product you're sourcing, your generic product that are sourcing in China that you found on Alibaba. You're not gonna find those in Mexico. I'm talking about going and find like better quality products that you can sell for more with better ROI. Just build a stronger business with better products, and I think that's what's gonna happen in Mexico with sourcing, definitely. And we want to play a part in helping US sellers to do that. And then on selling in the marketplace, I think we still have 2 years at the very most, like 2 years before all the attention starts focusing on Mexico. The Chinese sellers are going to still moving to Mexico, but I think many of the sellers that are looking to, I think when this like acquisition frenzy is over, like everybody's talking about this and focusing about that, but when the attention goes back into building value for building businesses, growing your business, like when people focus back on their businesses and not selling so much, I think Mexico is gonna play a big role, because it's gonna grow fast, and I think the window of opportunity for brands or for sellers to be in Mexico without much competition is going to be, I'm gonna say 18 months. You have 18 months to really do what we've been talking about and grow as much as you can.
I love what you just said about, because there is this frenzy right now. It's 2021. There's this frenzy. There's so many aggregators and roll-ups in the space, and there's this frenzy to buy FBA businesses, and there's this frenzy for businesses to exit and go ahead and sell for the biggest price possible. And while it's great, and I love that people are finding financial freedom, and this is just fantastic, that spirit of entrepreneurship that I love so much about this industry is it's a peril, I think. So I like the idea that in 18 months or so, everybody who's exited will have exited, and new brands will be emerging, and then we'll have this renaissance of entrepreneurship, and that will be
for sure
the time that you should have already been on Amazon Mexico. You should do it now. So we did have a question about, did someone say Patricio's company helps you do this? Yes. So we will absolutely be providing contact information for Patricio's company. They can definitely help you with the steps. They can also help you just sell your products. One final question, I think, because we did promise you this would only take 45 minutes, and we're 3 minutes over, but it's the big category question. So most Amazon marketplaces, every single marketplace has the same most popular category, which is basically home products. Is Mexico the same? I know that I think Turkey is the only one where it's health and beauty is the top category.
For Amazon Mexico right now, it's electronics. Well, liquor. You have liquor.
Right.
Number one, liquor. Number two, electronics.
Yeah, electronics. Of course, home and kitchen is a big category, but electronics is bigger right now in Mexico. But to me, my favorite category is, for me, toys is it's the one it's really been our strong suit since we started. But specifically in Mexico, there's a big industry, like a lot of manufacturers. There's a big local culture of locally manufactured toys. So that's a big opportunity for, I think, for sellers that want to get into the Mexican marketplace. There's a lot of manufacturers, and right now with COVID, and this is one last thing that I want to say. With COVID, a lot of companies have been struggling, especially in Mexico, where most sales, like only 3% of sales were e-commerce before COVID. So there's a lot of companies struggling right now. So if you can just give them a call, email them, and give them an option to get them to get them access to a market they don't have access yet, they'll be like happy to just manufacture products for you. Forget about MOQs. Like do even if you want to sell products in the US, source your products in Mexico. You do like just think about like, can you imagine if you're a medium or small company trying to just struggling to survive because most of your buyers closed down. If you get a call from an American company wanting to carry your products, like they'll give you whatever they've got. Like if you want to, things that would cost a ton in China, just get somebody to do like customizations, like materials, like injection molds or whatever.
And how easy is it to find these people? That was the last question we had actually. How easy is it to find brand suppliers and people to supply you products right now before you have created what you're creating? Can you help people do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can and we do. How easy it is to find? Well, there's the internet, of course, and the few that are on there you can find. Of course, it helps if you speak Spanish. That's very helpful. But also, like there's the Mexican embassy has a economic development office in the embassy, and you can call, or the call the U.S. embassy, and they'll help you get you in contact with manufacturers and with like the job of that office of the Mexican embassy is to promote Mexican business in the U.S. And if you call the U.S. embassy as well, they have an economic development office, so they can help. They're not the best at it. There's no Alibaba right now, but we're working on that. In the meantime, if you have any Mexican friends, you can call them up or just go online and look them up.
So we are going to put your info in the show notes of this webinar, but I'm curious just to say to people how people can find you, how people can get in touch with you. Again, we'll put all the info in the show after this is over, but like, how can people get in touch with you?
So you can go to algomasonline.com/growingmexico, and we have a contact form there. If you own a brand or have a product and you're interested in expanding to Mexico, you can fill out a form there and schedule a call, and we'll get on the phone and talk about your product. And if it's a product that will work in Mexico, we can help you with that. Or to my email, info@algomasonline.com as well. We'll probably have somewhere in there
We'll put
all that information. But yeah, I mean, whether it is to bring your brands to Mexico, or just give you a tip, help out any way we can, I'll be happy to help.
And you can grow the hordes of fans that follow Patricio and his work. He does a lot of podcasts, so check him out. He does a lot of really great content. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
Coming all the way to the win. Thanks to Cameron. Thanks to our support team, Madeline Dutton, who helped me out with sound check and making sure that we got to some of the questions. Andrew and Jackie, everybody that helped with this. It was our first live webinar in person, so I think we'll probably do more of these. This session has been recorded, so the recording will be emailed to you. We thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you all.
Thanks.